Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Unlearn with Bianca. On this podcast, we talk about all things self-healing, health, personal growth, the mind-body connection, relationships, and more. Thank you for taking time out of your precious week, using your precious energy to be tuning into each of these episodes. If you like them, if you're getting a lot out of them, please make sure you're following along, you're subscribed, you're rating this podcast, and you're sharing with family and friends. Hey guys, welcome back. So today I want to talk about the link between three things that in my mind are all very connected. That is authenticity, loneliness, and then building new connections and forming new authentic connections. So this podcast episode topic came to me as I was reflecting on a conversation I had with someone last week. And we were talking about the challenges of and just the patience you need to have of growing an audience when you're a business owner. And this person suggested to me that I should be showing more of myself on Instagram, like the day-to-day vlogs, having a bit more fun with it, because they said that I was a lot cooler in real life than I appeared on social media. It made me laugh, but also feel slightly uncomfortable because it's actually not the first time that I've had a similar comment like that, where the content that I was putting out there didn't quite communicate the type of person I am behind the scenes. So I really saw this conversation as an opportunity to self-reflect on how I'm choosing to show up at the moment. And it was actually quite funny because the night before, I actually found myself dancing on tables at 2 a.m. I had a big night out, and that does not happen very frequently these days. And I was thinking, do people want to see this side? Do people want to see the boring day-to-day moments? Do they want to see the really hard times? Do they want to see all the weird things that I'm into? Because I am into some pretty weird things. So I have a lot of passions. And I was thinking, like, how do these elements of me, my authentic self, really connect into me wanting to get a message across to other people? So anyway, this was just a conversation that was a sort of thought stream that was going on in my own mind. And I really feel like we've gone from this world of presenting perfectly and really polished, which has been what I've grown up with, especially being a millennial, and anyone who's a millennial or older will know that is how things were, to now this push for authenticity and being really honest and real and showing all sides of yourself and, every part of you. I personally still think we need to be discerning on what we share, but I really understand the sentiment of sharing different sides and really connecting to different parts so that people can connect to you. So this conversation got me thinking about something wider around authenticity and really being seen, feeling safe to be seen by others, really owning all parts of yourself rather than just the nice performative parts, and how that can actually lead into more connection because people can resonate with different parts. Based on conversations and the rising rates of mental health issues, I know that so many of us are really craving real connection, where we can be seen, where we can be heard, where we can be celebrated. We are so digitally connected, but our social relationships aren't always feeling as meaningful. And I know especially if you're listening to this podcast, you might have noticed as well that as you change, as you grow and you develop, there are also changes to your relationship. That's just the nature of growth. As you start to grow, there comes a loss of other connections as they were. Or maybe you just start to notice that the patterns that once served you, such as complaining or gossiping or connecting out of trauma, they're just no longer resonating with where you're at. So I think a lot of us are really craving more authentic relationships where we can really be seen and where we can be heard. And when we're not feeling connected to the people around us, it leads to loneliness. Loneliness isn't just about being physically alone. It's really about being emotionally disconnected. It's about being unseen or misunderstood, even in a room full of people. And it's a real universal experience. So if you're sitting here thinking like, yeah, I've had those moments, it's a universal experience that everyone's going to experience. but it's one that we tend to keep quiet, we tend to numb because we think we shouldn't feel that way. Which is ironic because a lot of people, as I said, are feeling it. In 2023, the World Health Organization declared loneliness as a global public health concern, linking it to increased risk of heart disease, dementia, stroke, depression, and premature death, on par with smoking 15 cigarettes per day. So you might have heard this one. I feel like this is quite a common, quite shocking fact that I've heard before. But loneliness really is a killer, and it's a real issue when we're not feeling connected to people around us. So I personally have had some really lonely moments, some when I'm around other people. Sometimes it's just this quiet feeling in the background. And as someone who tends to be really sensitive with energy, and if I'm not feeling flash, I'll go inward to preserve energy because that's where I connect back in with myself, that extroverted introverts will get what I mean. That can also cause issues as well, because that means that you tend to go more inward rather than connecting with those around you. So I don't really see loneliness necessarily as a problem to fix, but it is a signal to reconnect. So first with yourself and then with others. And that's why it's really important to do both the inner work and start to know yourself. And then from there, we can really build some authentic connections, not just any kind of connection, authentic connections. Part of that is pouring into relationships that you already have, but also I want to talk on connecting with new people and really developing and cultivating some new relationships, because I think that's what a lot of people are really craving. So for the rest of the episode, I'm going to share with you guys some things that I personally have been working on, things that I can tangibly do, steps I can take to bring in and call in new connections, friendships, new people into my life, because as I said, I think this is what a lot of us are looking for, those really authentic, aligned connections. And sometimes we forget that we are only one meeting away from someone new in our life that could completely change the course of our life. So number one, the first step to calling in new connections is actually understanding yourself. And this actually circles all the way back to the start of the episode, where I was sharing with you guys about the way I presented myself versus how I can be behind the scenes. That's why I wanted to share this, because understanding yourself is showing up as yourself and embracing and owning all parts of you. So showing up as yourself, that actually takes time, spending time with yourself. So starting to get to know yourself, starting to ask yourself the important questions. What are my values? What are the cool, fun, quirky things that I bring to the table? What are the not so good qualities, the vulnerabilities? Learning what opinions you feel strongly about, and really letting go of following the trends and just going with the consensus. If we are constantly filtering ourselves to be liked or to be accepted, or trying to avoid judgment, if we are constantly agreeing, we're trying to keep the peace, we're doing things that we've outgrown, then the connection that people feel with us isn't actually with us. It's with the version that we're performing. And I've said this before, but a lot of illness and unhappiness, I find, is because we're forced to wear masks, and this creates a lot of nervous system stress under the surface. But when we begin to have courage and we do some of that inner work and we start really standing strong on our personal preferences, our beliefs, our opinions, this is really freeing and it's really good for our health. And as I go back to the start again and go back to that aha moment I had, I've really come to realize that true authenticity, knowing yourself, doesn't mean you need to share your stuff everywhere, but it means being comfortable enough to be okay with all these different parts with no shame. And in the case of a business or building a community or building followers, I reflected that back to myself, thinking like I could do some work on that. There are other parts of myself, the positive and the not so positive, that I could share more of to connect with an audience. This energy, when we let go of people pleasing and the masks, when we let go of that giving just that one-dimensional filtered version, there could be so much more that people could connect to. So for me, guys, watch out, because there might be a bit more weird content coming through to show you how weird I can be, how many weird passions I have. I'm sure there's a few people listening that are the same. And I also feel like I'm really stepping into sharing more opinions. And if you are someone who's also trying to find your people, I encourage you to do that as well. Really be strong in your opinions and share your opinions so that those that have the same can find you as well. It's like you're putting out a radio signal so that others can tune into that frequency. So, number one, to recap, the first step you can take if you're wanting to find your people and cultivate those authentic relationships, start to know yourself, start to embrace all parts of yourself. Number two, if you're wanting to call in new people, check your beliefs around new connections. So, make sure you're checking your limiting stories and your beliefs around meeting new people. Where are you limiting yourself and your self talk that will limit your opportunities to meet people? Because what happens when we are consistently speaking things in our mind, when we're speaking limiting beliefs out loud, our thoughts create this kind of lens that narrows what we actually notice and experience. That is our reticular activating system. Our beliefs shape our feelings, which can influence our behavior. And before you know it, you've unknowingly closed off doors or avoided opportunities to meet people. I've definitely noticed myself before having some sneaky limiting beliefs come in about people, meeting people. I'm going to share with you guys some really common ones, and I want you to start to think, is this my thought process? What is an alternative thought, an alternative belief that would be more supportive around meeting people? So you could be saying something like, there's no one like me around here or in this area. My people aren't in this location. If you have this belief, if you're thinking this every day, you're going to head out, you're going to go out to public, your brain is going to start to seek out all those people that are not on your wavelength. It's going to find more evidence of people that, quote unquote, aren't your people. So notice, just by having that belief about my people aren't in this location, I don't resonate with these people in this city, notice that you can really cut off many opportunities. And the more that I am growing, the more that I realize that it's not a location that is going to stop you from meeting your people. Your people could be anywhere. They could be around the corner. You could be jumping online and somehow being connected with someone on the other side of the world. So don't let location stop you from thinking that you can make new friendships. The next limiting belief is it's too late to make new friends, or I'm too old. This is another limiting belief. It's carrying this idea that deep connection is only forged through our 20s, our 30s, our 40s, and that we can't make connections after a certain point in life. That is just absolutely not true. The truth is that some of the most aligned friendships are formed later in life when, it goes back to that thing of we know ourselves, we know what's important, so you connect with people faster. So when you know yourself more deeply, those friendships can come in at any space. Another belief is I'm not good at small talk or socializing. And then that limiting belief, if you're thinking that, playing that every day, you might be overthinking at social events. You might be holding back on a certain conversation. Do you know how many people feel this way about small talk? So many people feel this way. So if this is you, I encourage you just to bring up a really quirky topic. I encourage you to ask someone what they're passionate about. Be you. Don't just talk to people about their roles and the weather. Ask a question that might spark something different in them, because that is you showing what you are really passionate about. And finally, the last limiting belief that you might be guilty of speaking is I'm too busy fixing myself to have time for new friendships. And this one here, as we can see, it just isolates, it keeps you in that hyper independent bubble and subtly removed from opportunities. And this could be the same with dating as well. So notice any of those four, that's just four, there's so many different other ones I could have added, are going to stop you from potentially attracting new people and opportunities in your energy field. So keep an eye on them, start challenging them when they come up. And if you catch them, ask yourself where this belief was formed and what would be more supportive instead to switch it up. The third point, if you want to cultivate authentic connections, is to audit your energy. Audit your own energy. Before inviting new connections into your life, it's really important to take a clear look at where your energy is currently going. Have a look at what is feeding your energy, what's draining your energy, and where these little energy leaks are. So you can ask yourself questions like, who around me at the moment actually lights me up and leaves me feeling refreshed afterwards? As you start to ask yourself that question, you might start to notice that the people that leave you feeling light and refreshed, they have a particular energy about them or a particular quality that you're really drawn to. So start thinking about like, who do I actually enjoy being around? Because the more focus we get in terms of what kind of people we want to attract in our life, the more out we can start to look and find that in our filtering system. You might also ask yourself, who consistently drains me or leaves me feeling depleted after interacting? So it could be, for example, that there was a colleague who would constantly vent and complain during lunch breaks. And maybe at first you were trying to be supportive, but after a while you realized that you felt really emotionally drained and anxious even before meeting them, even before getting to work. That is a signal that you are craving more than people who just complain. That is a signal that you are no longer aligned with complaining. Look, consistent complaining. Okay. So it's about taking the evidence and the feedback that's in our current reality and getting a bit more curious. Maybe you realize that you've had friendships where you were always the one reaching out or making plans, but being left feeling invisible and undervalued. That is a draining of your energy. You also might notice in your body where you feel certain things. So, is it tightness when you're around people? Is it constriction? Maybe around certain people you feel like you're walking on eggshells. That could, one, be a signal that those people are not ones that you want in your life, but it could also be a signal that you need to work on practicing your boundaries, or both. It could be around certain people you feel really light, like I said before. So, where do you feel that energy in your body? Our body is always speaking to us. Our energy is precious. Sometimes we hold on to relationships and friendships out of habit, obligation, out of fear, even when they no longer really serve us or reflect who we truly are. So, as you start to audit your energy, you can start to make space. You can either gently let go of draining connections or set clear boundaries and make space to connect to more authentic, life enhancing, energy giving relationships in your life. The fourth tip, if we want to draw in authentic connections, get clear on what you're desiring in new friendships or new connections, because the clarity helps our brains visualize and search for these possibilities and take action steps towards the intention. This is sort of similar to the last point, but it's more about what quality are you wanting more of in your life? Because remember, one friend, one relationship, one connection cannot bring you everything, but there might be this craving to have a friend who's really creative and is really into a particular hobby that you're into. It could be that you're craving relationships with more depth. It could be that you're craving a relationship just purely for going out and having fun. What is the quality? What is the thing that you are looking for? What is the quality in someone that you are really drawn to? I've said this before, but I think we can be so guilty sometimes of expecting one person to just bring everything to the table, one friend to be able to meet all of our needs, one partner to be able to know us fully and completely. And I really find that we can let go of a lot of that pressure when we realize that different people just bring different elements into our life. I love looking at it like this. So, yeah, sit with that and really think about, what is it that I am wanting to connect with? What kind of person am I wanting to connect with more? I also encourage you to look at that quality and see where you can embody that in your own life. So if you're wanting a fun friend, if you're wanting that friend to really bring you out of your shell and have fun, where can you start already making space for joy and fun in little moments in your life? If you're craving someone with depth, where can you start to go deeper with yourself and start getting introspective? We become magnetic to aligned friendships when we start to embody the energy we want to experience with others. So you can look for certain qualities in people, but also start practicing that within yourself as well. The next one, which actually backs onto what I just said, become the friend you want. Okay? It sounds simple, but it is profound. It is that whole thing of embodying these qualities that you're wanting in someone else. I don't know why didn't just put these into one point. When you show up as the kind of friend you'd want to have, you naturally attract people that resonate with that energy. So you could ask yourself, how can I be more present? How can I be more compassionate, more communicative, more trustworthy in my relationships? If I'm wanting those qualities and new connections, how can I already start to give them in my current relationships or to myself? What kind of energy am I bringing when I reach out or spend time with others? I've even just realized now as I'm recording this real time that there is a really good friend of mine who I have left on read or on seen for a week. I haven't replied, and that's just because I've forgotten, right? But I could easily get frustrated at everyone else for not replying to me, but where am I doing it in my own life? I can't expect people to be responsive and check in on me if I'm not doing it in my current relationships. And it's the same with, let's say, encouragement or really loving, kind words, wanting that desperately from friendships in our life, wanting that from other people. But if we look a bit closer, maybe we're not doing that, or we're not giving that freely to our friends that are already in our life, or we're not giving it to ourselves. We're not speaking loving words over ourselves. So really starting to see where these double standards are. And I've actually got a quote that I shared on Instagram the other day that I want to share here because it was really powerful. And it's around this point as well. So when the strongest person in the room falls, no one knows how to support them. This is this idea that we can really want this support, but we're not willing to show that we need this support, or being vulnerable enough to ask for or receive support. So if you have a facade, if you're carrying the emotional weight for other people and you're carrying the load for everyone, people learn and assume that you don't need help. But we're all human, right? We all go through really challenging times. If you've been that person that has held it all together, people don't know how to show up when you go through a challenge because they've never practiced showing up for you before. So this is why if we want vulnerable, deep connections, supportive connections, we need to make sure that we're being vulnerable to ourselves and we're being vulnerable to other people as well. We could start practicing that. The next one, number 6, is focus on being interested over being interesting. Spend less time trying to impress others and more time listening and asking curious questions. One of the most underrated skills in building new connections is curiosity. So often, I think we really worry about how we're coming across. You know, do they like me? Am I being enough? Did I say the right thing? But the truth is that genuine, authentic connection that thrives not when we're trying to impress, but when we listen and when we care. When you shift your focus from trying to be interesting to being interested in someone, something powerful happens. You take the pressure off yourself to perform and to prove, and you help the other person feel seen. This is a gift because we've all had that experience where we don't want someone to actually fix our problems. We just want to be seen. We just want that undivided attention or support and that presence, which is more than enough. So when you are genuinely interested in what someone has to say, you create this dynamic that feels safe. It feels like a two-way street. So tips on doing this: just ask thoughtful questions. Listen more than you speak. I think that's something we can all practice. That was actually one of my goals early this year, is to sit with uncomfortable silence, to listen and to pause a lot more when people are speaking rather than jumping in and knowing what I want to say next, really doing my best to be present in conversation. You can sound interested by reflecting back what you hear from people. and just be genuinely curious about who someone is rather than what they do, rather than their roles and responsibilities. When we look past this, there are so many things that people love to talk about. It's just that it's that cliche thing of like, hi, I'm blah, blah, blah. Or what do you do for work? Or where are you from? If you're from Christchurch, you get, what school do you go to? It's still years later. It's all these questions that we do out of habit. So people don't always remember what you said. They remember how they felt in your presence. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And on the back of this one, being interested over interesting, I would also add giving. If you are feeling stuck in general in life, you're moving through loneliness, I really encourage you to go out and give. Give in the sense of maybe there's something that you can help someone with. Maybe you've got a skill that you can offer. Maybe you want to volunteer somewhere, because that really shifts the focus off our own internal world into other people, and you get such a healthy boost of enhancing neurochemicals when you are giving from a genuine place. We've all had this feeling before when we help others, if we do something nice. It's just a really warm, fuzzy feeling, and it's a protective factor against loneliness. Finally, the last one, I think we're at number 7 or 8. What to do if you're wanting to find your people and cultivate more authentic connections. Go to the spaces. Be in the space. If you're in business and you're wanting to connect with expansive creative people, go to networking, go to co-working spaces. If you're wanting people who really value their health and their well-being, go to a hiking group, a run club, go to a yoga class, anything like that. Starting to think about like the type of people I want to bring into my life, or I want to find, where would they be hanging out? If you are feeling creatively blocked, if you want more fun, more expressiveness, go to a painting class, go to a dance class, go to a poetry night. I've always wanted to go to one of those. Go to a concert. What is that feeling that you can connect with, and where would those people be in terms of that space? Go there. It's about aligning your outer world with the kind of inner connection that you're craving. And you're like essentially signaling to the universe that I'm available for something new. Might be uncomfortable for me to put myself in this particular space, but I'm declaring that I am calling in people that are like-minded. You're meeting the universe halfway. So guys, I hope that you've gotten a lot out of this episode. It started off with just an aha moment I had around my own showing up and authenticity. But I think it really leads into this wider conversation around why we may be feeling lonely and how we can start to really embrace different elements of ourselves, show up as ourselves, really think about the type of connections that we're calling in. Even if you take on just 1 or 2 of these steps, you will start to embody a different energy. And that's really important when we're drawing in new connections and new people. And I want to leave you guys with a quote that I quite liked, which links all the way back to the start. Remember to own who you are. The price you pay internally is greater than the price you pay of being yourself. And how I really interpret this is that when we are not being ourselves, when we're suppressing ourselves, or maybe only showing certain parts and expecting faster growth, that can lead to being stifled in your expression. It can lead to health issues. It can lead to loneliness. It can lead to loneliness and incongruent connections. So keep being yourself. Keep speaking your truth. Keep owning the good things and the not so good things, your quirkiness, what you want out of life, your desires. And from that place, you start attracting things on the same wavelength. Please remember my DMs are always open to continue the conversation. I always love hearing from you guys to see what you've reflected on. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. You're more than welcome to send through any topics, any ideas. I've got some episodes actually lined up here in London. I'm going to be speaking to some amazing people over here. So if you are listening, if you happen to be listening and you're from this side of the world, the Northern Hemisphere, and you'd love to be on this podcast, then please do reach out. I hope you guys all have a really good week, and I'll see you on the next episode.